Good morning, everyone. We've got Psalm 68. God shall arise, his enemies will be scattered, and those who hate him shall flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so shall drive them away. As wax melts before fire, so the wicked shall perish before God. That's a visual of smoke being driven away, because we've got a fire pit in our backyard, and every time we sit down at the fire pit, that smoke wants to get right in my face. And I go like this to try to air it out of the way, but it still gets in my face and drives me crazy. It does not matter where I sit around the fire pit. It just is a magnet to me. So I'm thinking the smoke is driven away. That takes a strong wind to do that. But what's stronger than our God? But the righteous shall be glad. They shall exult before God. They shall be jubilant with joy. It's not just saying they're joyful, they're jubilant. And, sometimes it's hard to think about the last time you were jubilant. You can remember as a kid for your birthday parties or whatever, being so excited and stuff. But when were you just really, really excited about something? Sing to God, sing praises to his name. Lift up a song to him who rides through the deserts. His name is the Lord. Exalt before him. Father of the fatherless and protector of widows is God in his holy habitation. He is our Abba Father. It does not matter what we have on earth. He is our Father. He has made us heirs to his kingdom. And there's nothing greater than having Abba Father. He is our protector, not just of the widows, but of everybody. He is Jehovah Nissi. He goes before us in battles as well. God settles the solitary in a home. He leads out the prisoners to prosperity, but the rebellious dwell in a parched land. O God, when you went out before your people, when you marched through the wilderness, the earth quaked, the heavens poured down rain. Before God, the one of Sinai, before God, the God of Israel, rain in abundance, O God, you shed abroad. You restored your inheritance as it languishes. Your flock found a dwelling in it. In your goodness, O God, you provided for the needy. We have Jehovah Jireh. He provides all of our needs. It doesn't matter what we're dealing with. There's so many times and so many stories I can think of where there was a need and God just automatically fulfilled it. We were in Sunday school the other day, and this person sat there and he said, I had lost my job. And he was testifying at this time. He said, I had lost my job, and he pointed to me and he said, your mom told me I'm going to give you everything that's in my purse. And sorry, Mom, I forgot to tell you about this the other day. So if you're hearing about it on here the first time, he said, she told me I'm going to give you everything in my purse. He said she went to her purse and she started pulling out pennies and change and stuff. Then she pulled out this wad of bills. He said, and that was everything that we needed to get our car payment and food for the week. And I told him, I said, well, she had told me that she was giving you guys some money and then she was giving you some of the meat out of their freezer because they had just got a part of a cow. I said, but what you don't know is that money was supposed to go to a payment, because in that season, my parents had this motorhome that was draining and draining and draining them. And my dad was having to go to Jackson and work there several days a week. He was staying in the motorhome while he was there. And then he would come back home on the weekends during that season. And it was one thing after another with this motorhome. And I don't know how much they had to pour into that, even with insurance on it, just to get it to be livable. But I said, you didn't know. They didn't have that money to give in the season. But out of obedience, they gave it. And, it doesn't matter where we are in our life. God provides those needs. So whether we don't have it at the moment and we still give, God still brings it back. Because after my parents had gave at that time, just the next week, God provided a check for it. The Lord gives the word. The woman who announces the news are great hosts. Well, hey, we being a great host today. The kings of the armies, they flee. The women at home divide the spoil. The ewe men lie among the sheepfolds, the wings of a dove covered with silver, its pinions with shimmering gold. When the Almighty scatters kings there, let snow fall in Zoman. O mountain of God, mountain of Bashan, O many-peaked mountain, mountain of Bashan, why do you look with hatred, O many-peaked mountain, at the mount that God desire for his abode? Yes, where the Lord will dwell forever. The chariots of God are twice 10,000 upon thousands. The Lord is among them. Sinai is now in the sanctuary. You ascended on high, leading a host of captives in your train and receiving gifts among men, even among the rebellious, that the Lord God may dwell there. When I read that about the many-peaked mountains, it makes me think of pictures I've seen of the Alp Mountains. And it kind of brings me back to The Sound of Music. You all know the scene. She's in a field singing and about the hills being alive with the sound of music and stuff. You see all these mountains in the background. But you think if you're having to traverse over these mountains, that's not easy work. You're going up and down. You know, it's the peaks and the valleys that you're going through. But God's there in the mountains. He is up on the top of that mountain building his kingdom and his throne forever. And when we can't get up to that top of the mountain, God says, I'm going to come down to you in the valley. Blessed be the Lord who bears us up. God is our salvation. Our God is a God of salvation. And to God the Lord belong deliverances from death. The Bible says that when we give our lives to Christ, we surrender to him, that we become a new creation, and that we will live with him eternally. I heard this story the other day of a lady who had died and was brought back. And she said the amount of peace in that time. She said there was no fear in the death. She said, I had fear for everybody else because I was thinking, what are my kids going to do? What about my husband, my family? She said, but for myself, there was no fear. It was just peace. God will strike the heads of his enemies, the hairy crown of him who walks in his guilty ways. The Lord said, I will bring them back from Bashan. I will bring them back from the depths of the sea, that you may strike your feet in their blood, that the tongues of your dogs may have their portion from the foe. Your procession is seen, O God, the procession of my God, my King, into the sanctuary. I'm going to say most people's dogs are not like Remy, who is literally dancing around a duck jerky chew at the moment. Most people's dogs are not like that, okay? Remy is spoiled. He's proud of it. He's unashamed of it, too. I'm a little ashamed of how spoiled he is, but he's adorable. So, when he says, the tongues of your dogs may have their portion from the foe, most people are not buying their dog duck jerky and indulging in their dog the way that I do, and that Corey has grown accustomed to doing with me. Like, look at, we got Remy right here. Whoops. And he's just like, okay, I got my duck chew. Most people's dogs aren't allowed up on a couch either, you know? So he's saying, the tongues of your dogs may have their portion from the foe. Those dogs are getting their food from the table. God says he sets a table in the presence of our enemies, you know? And what the enemy was supposed to be sitting down, he's saying, your dogs are going to have that portion. Like, that's a big diss to these people, too, if you're thinking about that. You know, in my household, Remy gets, yeah, we won't go there. Remy gets what he wants. The singers in front, the musicians last between them, virgins playing tambourines. Bless God in the great congregation, the Lord, O you who are Israel's fountain. You know, there's so many times we get to church and we don't worship God. We literally go to church for God. We are there to congregate with other believers, to worship God, to give him glory and honor and praise. And we don't even do that sometimes. You know, he is our fountain. He is our source. How deserving is he? Saturday night, I had said, you know, I don't want this to be worship as usual. I wasn't feeling good. I've been dealing with some hip pain from a walk with the dog last week. And I was like, you know, I don't feel like standing up here right now, but we're going to do this. We're going to praise through it. And that's what we have to do, you know? And then, the other day too, I didn't feel like doing it. I just went up to the altar immediately and I was like, God, I am at church. I'm going to make this about you. This is not going to be about me sitting in a pew dwelling in my discomfort right now. And I'm not going to leave early because I'm not comfortable and I'm in pain. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to be about you. I'm going to make it about you because everything should be about you. We have to have that mindset too. There is Benjamin, the least of them, in the lead. The princes of Judah in their throng. The princes of Zebulun, the princes of Naphtali. Summon your power, O God, the power, O God, by which you have worked for us. Because your temple at Jerusalem, kings shall bear gifts to you. Rebuke the beasts that dwell among the reeds, the herd of bulls with the calves of the people. Trample underfoot those who lust after tribute. Scatter the peoples who delight in war. Nobles shall come from Egypt. Cush shall hasten to stretch out her hands to God. To him who rides in the heavens, the ancient heavens, behold, he sends out his voice, his mighty voice. Ascribe power to God, whose majesty is over Israel and whose power is in the skies. Awesome is God from his sanctuary, the God of Israel. He is the one who gives power and strength to his people. Blessed be God. You know, we have to remember that God is our source and we are nothing with him. He gave the power to Israel. He is the one who anointed David as king and he is the one who sets everything in motion. So who are we to think that we can do anything without him? So many times in our lives and going throughout our day, it's easy to forget about what God's doing, what God has said, and just get caught up in your day. But I am telling you, if you take that first portion of your day, get your mindset on God, pray, read the Bible, commune with him, your whole day will be set into a different tone. And God's going to go before you in everything. It's going to be that reminder you need to keep him front and center.